Alright, so in this video we're going to be looking at the respect of two-dimensional space on a three-dimensional object based on resolution and uniformity. Okay, so if you go and make a new polygon cube, and we're going to make a snapshot of the 2D space in order to take it into Photoshop to do something with it. Okay, to do that we click on the three-dimensional shape. Make sure its UV texture editor is opened, and if it is done correct you should see the UVs over here. I should be able to go to Window, I should go to UV Snapshot and pick a spot on the face of this earth to put this at. So Browse, Desktop, and I will call this for texture class and unit 1 examples. Okay, sweet. Now when you make a snapshot it has to be period TGA. Okay, that helps out. Okay, and down here TGA also. We're actually going to lower this quite a bit. We're going to make it like 512 by 512 just to keep the speed up. And the range here is the 0 to 1. So in other words, this square, there's 4 squares here, so this one right here is the 0 to 1. Now I know it's a 0 to 1 because I can go from the center. It goes 0 to positive 1. So anytime I have to go to the 0, -1 space, it's this way. Okay, and so forth. 0, -1. Alright, but right now just know that we use this one the most. Okay, let's hit OK to that. And now that's saved it to my Unit 1 folder on my desktop. So in Photoshop I can go File, Open, I go to Desktop, I should be able to page out, and I have this. Alright, now one thing that you have to know, there's an alpha channel here. Okay, so there's layers and channels, and incidentally if you don't know how to get to a really well laid out Photoshop, go to Window, Workspace, Reset Essentials, Default. There we go. So now we have a default. I can go to channels and I can get rid of alpha 1. I really don't like alpha 1. If we left it alone, left it on there, when we go to export it back out, it would be transparent, and that wouldn't be good. Alright, another thing I like to do is go to the layers, go to the background, double click on it and hit OK. This will unlock this layer. I like to think of it more of a coloring book, so in order to do that, Window, Adjustment, Invert. Alright, so this is what we have now. Let's make a new layer. Grab the text tool and click and drag. Okay, my font needs to be something like 12. We'll change it here. Type in stretch and then click up here and use the arrow tool on the keyboard to make this bigger. Get it to so it fits in there perfectly. Alright, now we can get rid of the actual UVs. We don't need those. We can just uncheck them. And this is where that face would be in 3D space. So let's save this out. And we're going to save this as a TGA. I prefer using TGAs for right now. In some instances we use TIFFs and sometimes ping. Depends on what company you're working for and what what your output is. Okay, so for my world, I like TGA. It's a nice little world, and we'll call this Unit 1 Snap and hit OK. I want to use 24-bit Targa, and I'll go to Maya. Now in Maya, I can go to Window, Rendering Editors, Hypershade. The Hypershade menu pops up way over here for me, and now I have materials, textures, and incidentally, textures need materials to go on objects. Okay, so you could take many textures, can create one material, but only one material can be applied to a certain face. Alright? Now, there could be multiple materials on an object, but we won't go there just yet. I'm going to start out using a Lambert, go to my Textures tab, and then import from the desktop let's go to Texture and drag in UV1 Snap. Perfect. So I got my Textures tab, and I got my ball, which is the material, and middle mouse button click and drag it over to it and go to default. There we go. Now that doesn't look very good. You can't read it, that's for sure. So let's apply this to the cube. So middle mouse button click and drag it over, and there we are. It says stretch, and you can see it's very low res. Also, just know that this is a really fast representation of what it usually should look like. If we go to high quality rendering, it should show up just a little bit better, but not much. Okay, because we have exactly 512 resolution, and we've only used just a little bit of it to write the word stretch here. Alright, also, if you go back to your UV texture editor, you'll find that there's your box. You can click on it, but it's really hard to see. You can go to dim image, and then you can see a better representation of it via gray. And if I took the UVs down here below by just right clicking in this area, go to UV, click and drag the UVs down, you'll see that it squishes up stretch. And if I go the other way, it stretches stretch. So now you can see that there has to be a perfect one-to-one relationship between the uniformity of this square and this square. Now, if I went to do this, if I grab the UVs and click and dragged and made this bigger, you'll find that now stretch looks a little bit better, but as soon as you get too far into it again, it's very pixelated again. Also, you have gone outside the 0 to 1 space. Really, that's not a good thing. We do that, but I like to keep within the 0 to 1 as much as possible because it's very friendly towards other things later on. Okay, so that's it in a nutshell. Let's look at what we could do to increase the resolution of this in the next video.